Hey, I'm doing this extra little intro here to ask you to subscribe to my content. If you like what you hear, I could use every little bit of help. Right now, I'm trying to get to 10 subscribers by the end of October. That is how small my channel is right now. So thank you very much and enjoy the video. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Steven with Freeze Peach Gaming, and today I wanted to talk about the erosion of language and the changing of definitions in order to control the means of social conveyance amongst one another. By controlling the language, people are able to control how we think and how we act. And this is a common tactic amongst authoritarians, but it is particularly common amongst socialists. And I first started thinking about this, well, today, because I kept coming across these pictures on Twitter showing the new anti-vaxxer definition. I wanted to do some comparisons of anti-vaccine. So we look here on, this is under Merriam-Webster, and the definition of anti-vaccine is opposed to the use of vaccines. That's fairly broad, but, it's a definition. They're meant to be fairly broad. Then we look over at anti-vaxxer, and they have changed it now. It is a person who opposes the use of vaccines or regulations mandating vaccination. Now, of course, they're using this for a particular purpose that I'm not allowed to talk about on YouTube because they control the language. But they go on to clarify a bit here. Some self-identified anti-vaxxers are vehemently against all vaccines. Some are skeptical of specific vaccines. No idea what they're talking about there. But this is a common tactic used by socialists and authoritarians. If they can control how you are speaking, they can control how you're thinking. If they can control how you're thinking, they control your behavior. And if they control your behavior, they control you. So the control starts with the words. That is how they want to force you to think and act certain ways. And I have a couple of articles here, a couple of op-eds wanted to read a couple of sections of. I'm going to start with this one from the Center Square. I don't really know much about this publication, but we'll give them a check. We'll check them out a bit. So I liked what I read of this article. It's op-ed, Control the Language and Control History by William Haupt III for the Center Square. This came out in August of 2019. The American people will never knowingly adopt socialism, but under the name of liberalism, they will adopt every fragment of the socialist program, said socialist Norman Thomas in 1928. See, they've been doing this for almost 100 years, probably more than 100 years, really. This has been how they go about things. They call liberalism what they are actually doing is socialism. During a decade of political chaos that brought us the works of Simone de Beauvoir, Jean-Paul Sartre, Aldous Huxley, and Vladimir Lenin, George Orwell reacted to this mobocracy, including the world to his dystopian Big Brother. His book, 1984, was an attempt to dissuade existentialism in a world reinventing itself after two great wars. Existentialism is a great way to put it. That is one of the key ways in which socialism and non-natural thinking is brought about. If you can make people think existentially, you can make them think outside of reality. And this was really the progenitor to what became postmodernism, which we really saw picking up in the 60s and 70s. And the main point of postmodernism is to live by a subjective reality rather than objective reality. They do not believe in objective truths. Everything is subjective. This is why you hear certain socialists out there talking about how you can't really have a personal life because everything is political, therefore the personal is political. During the rebuilding of politically polarized Europe, Orwell had concerns for the rise of regimes that promised liberation and freedom under the countenance of prorating free enterprise by controlling every action a citizen made. Orwell saw the past failed attempts to do this with artillery as a prime fortuity to complete this maneuver, replacing powerful weapons with words. And we are seeing this really come to a head now in 2021. The words are being very strictly controlled. As you saw earlier, there were things I couldn't even say because I'm trying to put this out on YouTube. They're so strict on their control of language and this incestuous relationship between big tech and the government that despite the fact that the government isn't allowed to control or compel our speech, they're able to do this on platforms because they are privately owned. And I'm not going to get into the conversation about platform versus publisher because a lot of people misunderstand how Section 230 works. But yeah, basically, as a platform or a publisher, they are, if it is online, they are allowed to determine what we are allowed to say by claiming anything as grossly offensive. And what is becoming grossly offensive is, it's a growing definition. Words have always been a commanding form of control in educating beliefs. When you short-circuit the capacity of a person's ability to think logically, they will obey authority without force. In ancient China, the arrival of a new dynasty brought about a rectification of definitions. This was a ceremony in which the erosion of the meaning of tactical words used within previous dynasties was reclarified by new rulers. And we are seeing that now, but we don't see it coming from our political rulers. We see it coming from within colleges, and they have made their way through the long march through the institutions. These ideas of controlling thought and speech have made their way from the colleges down to the lower levels, to where we're now seeing videos, and particularly in the coastal elite places like in California, we are seeing teachers that are teaching their children to erode reality, to ignore nature, and live by subjective feeling. If you control language, you control the argument. If you control the argument, you control information. If you control information, you control history. If you control history, you control the past. We are living in that nightmare right now in the 21st century. And as George Orwell's big brother in 1984 said, "He who controls the past controls the future." In modern free societies, a vigorous war of words is being waged for those who know the benefit of tactical deception. Liberals call it political correctness. It hasn't really been called political correctness since the 90s, but the idea has stayed the same. A phrase captioned by cultural Marxists for thought control. Operatives against Republican democracy have entrenched gotchas in their rules for modern radicals. Progressive socialist thought crime laws control free speech. This handicaps expression and individualism and secularizes religious teachings with sanctioned ideology. It is now politically incorrect to scold an out-of-control government when they abuse the limited powers we regulated to them. The progressive propaganda machine must approve everything said today. Exactly true. The progressive propaganda machine is big tech. It is all of these companies out there determining what we are allowed to say, what we are allowed to talk about, what we are allowed to question. And they claim science as their cover for all of these things. Science is the shield they are using to control what we are allowed to say. And the reason they are doing this is because they want to keep us safe. They want to determine how we are best to keep ourselves safe. They do this by disallowing certain things to happen. And if you speak out against these things, they will remove your ability to speak in what has now become the public square online. You can't go out to the street and start yelling at people on a microphone. They won't listen to you because they've got their phone stuck in their faces. They can ignore you as quickly as reaching into their pocket. And the control of language is one of the most heinous ways that they control you, and they control your thought. I mean, we see this with the way they change definitions constantly. For instance, the definition of woman or man. In order to be politically incorrect, have to be careful about who we call a woman and who we call a man. And we have to ignore nature, and we have to ignore biology, and we have to ignore observable, objective truth in order to fit this politically correct ideology. And we're told if we don't do this, that we are killing people. If we say that a man is a man and a woman is a woman, and no matter how hard you try, these things will never truly change, we are harming and killing trans people. This is what we are told. And I hate to say it, but that is the truth. And we are, in fact, harming these people by allowing them to live within a fantasy. This is why we see such great suicide rates out of the trans community, and I don't see them getting better. And even if we do see them getting better, I don't know how much I would trust those metrics, because we're out there teaching young people and trying to indoctrinate people into becoming trans for political reasons. Because if you can make them trans and you can bring them into the intersectionality, they will become socialist by that means as well, because they can be told that the socialists are the only ones who will support them. And I hate to be the one to do this, but I'm going to have to speak some truth to people. I'm going to have to let you know the truth. If you are trans, and that's fine, that is your right. You should be allowed to do that. I don't want to stop you from being trans. But the reality of the situation is that you will never be able to truly change your gender. And you need to accept that reality. I mean, you're never going to have a real cervix. You're never going to have a uterus. You're never going to be able to have children. A woman who turns to a man won't be able to have proper sex with their new penis. The nerves aren't there. The nerves don't properly connect to allow a true orgasm. And that's one of the things that I think a lot of these people who are becoming trans aren't properly realizing, that they're never going to be able to have a real orgasm again. I mean, how bad is that? And we're putting children on puberty blockers. Puberty blockers. We're stopping them from being able to grow up naturally. This is how far the erosion of language has gone. We've gone from you can no longer think a certain way because we want the world to be unnatural, because subjective truth is greater than objective truth, that now we're stopping children from being able to grow up naturally. It's sick. It's disgusting. And they do this because they claim they're doing this because they want to protect these children. But they are the ones who gave the children these ideas. Trans populations were a percentage of a percentage, and now we're seeing them blowing up all over the place. And this can only occur because of brainwashing and an ideology that is being shoved down their throats. And they're told that they're given it's the carrot for them. They're told that if they become trans or they become gay or LGBT or any of these things, they are given the belief that they will be put onto a higher pedestal because of the oppression Olympics and what have you. They will be put onto a higher pedestal, and therefore they will be given more attention, and they will be more of a person because of this. So we're teaching, through the erosion of language, we are teaching young children that they do not have to be the gender that they are born in, that they can choose whatever they want, despite the fact that that's a lie. And we're going to use this for political reasons so that we can have our little Twitter videos out there about how great this parent is because they let their child choose whatever gender they want to be, and we ignore the fact that we're intentionally setting these children up to become unadjusted adults, ill-adjusted adults in the future. They are going to have major difficulties dealing with reality because they have grown up their entire lives believing in fantasy and believing that fantasy is true. This is the worry I have from the erosion of language, and it's now not just coming from attacking children. We're now going to start, removing people's ability to speak. We're going to have the government coming after people and arresting them for wrongthink. This was fiction before. 1984 wasn't supposed to be a manual. But that's what it's become. It's become a way for... It's become the exact manual by which governments are taking control over people. Australia is one of the worst we see right now. I mean, Australia and China, what's the difference? So that's all I have to say for today. If you enjoyed this content, please leave me a comment and a like down below, and I'd greatly appreciate a subscription. I'd like to get to 10 subscribers in the near future. That's how small I am right now, is that I'm looking to hit 10 subscribers. So if you want to support me, please do so and share this video out because I need more people to see it. Either way, have a wonderful day and never be afraid to speak your mind.
What do you call a quadriplegic in a burning building? Fucked! Oh, waka waka!